When ghosts of the past return, reality begins to crack at the seams. Hello, Thomas. One simple word, and a life carefully rebuilt from shattered pieces is once again thrown into chaos. She vanished 3 years ago, leaving behind ruins, betrayal, and emptiness. And now, here she is, sitting across the table, sipping coffee, staring straight into his soul. Why? For what? She got everything she ever wanted: wealth, luxury, the perfect life. So why the hell is she back? This conversation isn't just a reunion, it's a battle, a confrontation with the past that refuses to stay buried. But who will emerge victorious? And, more importantly, does the past have a chance at redemption? Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watch this video from. Now, let's get started. A gentle, familiar voice spoke a name I hadn't heard in what felt like an eternity. Hello, Thomas. Instinctively, I turned, my eyes meeting a pair of deep brown irises that still had the uncanny ability to send my pulse into a chaotic rhythm. A tidal wave of emotions crashed over me: nostalgia, surprise, yearning, and finally, a bitterness that settled deep within. I hesitated, holding her gaze for what felt like an eternity, though in reality, it was likely only a fleeting moment. Caroline. I wasn't expecting this. I forced my attention back to whatever I had been doing before she appeared, though I knew there was no escaping this encounter. Caroline had never been one to leave things unresolved. "Got a few minutes?" she asked, a teasing lilt in her voice. "I'll even let you treat me to a coffee while we catch up." I exhaled sharply, my tone deliberately measured. "I have time, Caroline, but I'm not sure there's anything left for us to discuss." She let out a quiet sigh but remained persistent. "Please, Thomas. I just want to talk. I'll buy the coffee." I studied her for a beat before conceding. "Fine, but call me Thomas. No one calls me Thomas anymore." She smirked, rolling her eyes. "I think I've earned the right to call you whatever I want." "All right, Pookie." Her expression shifted, momentary shock flickering across her features. It had been years since I last used that name, an old, affectionate nickname from a different time. Back then, I would pull her close, mock whining in an exaggerated tone. "Come upstairs, Pookie. I need you. I'm desperate, Pookie." She'd always laugh, playfully shoving me away before retorting, "Get lost, you creep. You won't get anything until I say so. Take a cold shower, you menace." What followed were playful chases, bursts of laughter, and the occasional battle with the kitchen sink sprayer. Those moments had been golden. Now, hearing that name again, she wavered, something unspoken flickering in her eyes. Then, in a quiet voice, she conceded, "You're right, Thomas." Her sudden surrender caught me off guard. There was a weight beneath her words, an unspoken significance I couldn't quite place. She quickly turned to the small Asian woman behind the counter and spoke in a language I didn't recognize. The woman cast a glance at me before giving a solemn nod, then guided us to a secluded coffee bar tucked in the back of the store. We took seats at one of the 2 small tables surrounded by wicker chairs. Without hesitation, Caroline chose the seat facing the wall, while I instinctively positioned myself with my back to it, eyes toward the entrance. It was a habit I'd never shaken, a remnant from my time in Vietnam, something that had lingered even through 20 years of marriage. Despite everything, old routines persisted. I caught Caroline taking note of it, though her expression remained unreadable. For a time, we sat in silence, each lost in our own thoughts. My mind drifted back to the last time I had seen her, the woman who had once been my wife. We had lived in a quiet Connecticut town, and for years I had believed we were happy. But something had changed in the months leading up to our separation. Though we still occupied the same space and spoke to each other daily, an invisible wall had risen between us, one I had desperately tried to tear down. Our children had already moved out, building lives of their own. Andrew, our eldest at 23, had recently graduated and was newly married to Amelia, a sweet girl who had been a fixture in our family since high school. They had settled in New Jersey, commuting to jobs in New York, still very much in love. And then there was Camilla, our firecracker. At 21, she had been the source of both joy and exasperation throughout her teenage years. But she had matured, now nearing the end of college, often making the dean's list. I had been at work, meticulously editing an article for a magazine, when the call from Caroline had come. "Hey, Thomas." Her voice had thrown me off balance. "Caroline? Would you like to have lunch with me today? I know it's last minute, but I thought something spontaneous might be nice." I had been caught off guard, but didn't hesitate. "That sounds great, babe. I'm glad you called. Any place in mind? Or should I pick? Café Paris in 45 minutes. Does that work?" Her tone had been composed, professional even, marked by a quiet detachment. Still, I had felt hopeful. Perhaps this was the beginning of mending what had frayed between us. "I'll be there. Should I dress up? Or are you fine with me in bells?" She hadn't laughed. "Just be there, Thomas." "All right." 12:15. Good idea, babe. That call had filled me with cautious optimism. And yet, now, sitting across from Caroline after all these years, I couldn't help but wonder, where had it all gone so wrong? A wide grin spread across my face as I pushed back my chair and reached for my jacket. "I love you," I told her. She barely reacted, her voice carrying no warmth. "Okay, see you later." Excitement coursed through me as I navigated the city streets, eager to meet my wife for lunch. The simple thought of seeing her, of sharing even a brief moment together, filled me with a joy that felt almost childlike. When I arrived, she was already seated, a glass of wine in hand. Placing a gentle hand on her shoulder, I leaned in for a kiss. She turned slightly, allowing only the briefest peck on my cheek. That should have been my first warning, I thought, smiling despite the unease creeping into my chest. "Hey, beautiful. Looking for a date?" she teased with a smirk. "Let's order quickly so we can talk." Once our meals arrived, she started discussing some translation work she was handling for Trade, the import-export company where she worked as a linguist. I listened, nodding along as I ate, but something felt off. A strange weight pressed against my ribs, though I couldn't yet name the cause. She barely touched her food. When the plates were cleared, she reached for her business credit card, casually mentioning that her company would cover the bill. Then, silence. Her fingers traced invisible patterns on the table. Just as I was about to ask what was wrong, she looked up and shattered my world. "Thomas, you can't just say it like that." A pause. Then, the gut punch. "I've been having an affair for 8 months. I love him. I want a divorce." Her words slammed into me, each syllable a wrecking ball. My thoughts scattered, my body locked in place. I had survived war zones, seen horrors most people couldn't fathom, but nothing had ever felt like this. I was empty, numb, silent. Everything I thought I knew, everything I had built, collapsed in an instant. She continued, explaining that her lover was obscenely wealthy, a billionaire no less. He would handle all the legal fees. I wouldn't have to give up anything. "I could keep my little assets," she said, fingers curling in mock air quotes. I could see her lips moving, but her voice became a dull hum. It was like being trapped underwater, watching the surface distort the world above. Each word tolled like a funeral bell, marking the death of the life I had known. "This is what I want, Thomas," she pressed on. "Fighting it won't change the outcome. Dragging this out will only make it harder on both of us." Then, the final blade twisted deep. "I'm leaving for Europe with him tonight. I won't be back, not until the divorce is final. Please don't stand in the way. You've always wanted me to be happy. This is what makes me happy." She rose from the table, her final words as cold as ice. "I'll call the kids when I'm settled in Paris. I don't know how they'll take it. but that's not your problem. And then she was gone. Just like that. Vanishing from my life while I sat there, frozen, incapable of understanding what had just happened. As expected, the children took the news terribly. They were just as blindsided, just as wounded. Worse still, she never even called them. That burden fell on me. The weeks that followed were nothing short of agony. Rumors swirled. Accusations surfaced. Some even whispered that I had killed her, that I had made her disappear. Grief and blame tore through my household, leaving nothing but wreckage in its wake. Determined to uncover the truth, I quietly gathered information about Caroline's lover through contacts at her company. I scoured the internet for any trace of him. Eventually, I found the proof. Photographs of the two of them together, taken after she had left. Her face glowed with happiness in his arms, confirming what I already knew. Curiously, in every image published, she remained unnamed. Others in the photos were credited, but she was conspicuously left out. It was clear they wanted to keep her identity hidden. A year passed before I could begin to put myself back together. Slowly, I built a new life, a new routine. During that time, I befriended a few disgruntled employees from Caroline's old workplace, and what they revealed left me seething. Not only had the company's executives known about the affair, but they had actively concealed it. Because her lover's businesses funneled lucrative contracts into trade, they had chosen to keep him happy. Memos had even circulated, instructing employees to turn a blind eye. Her betrayal had unfolded right under my nose, all on company time. Lawsuit? Of course. I sued them. And now, I live comfortably off their money. I never got revenge on Caroline or her billionaire boyfriend. Our divorce agreement ensured I couldn't publicly name him, but forcing those complicit to feel even a fraction of my pain? That was enough. Now, more than 3 years later, I found myself sitting across from my favorite ex-wife at a shared table. She still looked stunning, perfectly dressed, every detail of her appearance meticulously curated. And yet, something was missing. Her brown eyes, once ablaze with fire, had dulled. When she was truly happy, they would sparkle, filled with a restless energy. Today, they were lifeless. Happiness, it seemed, had still eluded her. She gave me a slow once-over, her voice quieter than I remembered. "You look good, Thomas." "Thomas," I corrected. "Lost some weight. Put on some muscle." And then we sat in silence, two people who had once shared a life, now nothing more than strangers. She was the one to break the silence first. I answered with a simple, "Thanks." This was her scene, her performance. She had arranged this encounter, and I was merely following the script she had set. Neither of us could have predicted that our paths would cross again in London. "What are the odds?" she mused, trying to sustain the conversation. "Yeah, pretty wild," I said, sidestepping the weight of the moment. "My new job has me doing a lot of translation work. I've even managed to pick up a couple of new languages." She was searching for the right window, the perfect moment to say something meaningful. Realizing that, I decided to hand her a truth she might have been longing to hear. "I've always admired that about you. Your talent is remarkable. And if I'm being honest, you're still beautiful." Her gaze fell, and a single tear slipped down her cheek. "Thank you," she whispered. "Lately I feel like I don't exist. No one notices me anymore. It's as if I've become invisible." I hesitated before speaking. "I thought your husband would have kept you in the spotlight." "He never married me," she admitted with a touch of bitterness. "I'm nothing more than a showpiece. When he needs to impress someone, he brings me out like some rare artifact. A 40-year-old American woman, fluent in several languages, skilled at navigating high society, and willing to entertain in more ways than one. I guess that's a novelty. I've become an expensive, well-spoken ornament." Her words cut deep. "Then why stay?" I asked. "Why not just leave? Get on a plane, disappear." She exhaled, a long, weary sigh. It's not that easy. My life is comfortable, yes, even luxurious, but I'm always being watched. Escaping isn't really an option. The only reason we're even talking right now is because we ran into each other by chance. If I had stepped outside the store, I wouldn't have been able to stop. The owner, Lucy, is a friend. She'd help me if I needed to vanish for a while. That sounds like a prison, I said flatly. But if this is the life you've chosen, that's on you. Fine. Let's change the subject. Why didn't you ever call the kids? Her face darkened. It was hard enough convincing them I hadn't hurt you or made you disappear. They were devastated when you vanished from their lives. The weight of the silence stretched between us. Then, finally, she spoke again. I wasn't allowed to reach out, she confessed. That day, I boarded a private jet. From that moment on, my past was completely erased. As I told you, I'm always being monitored. She leaned in suddenly, eyes locking onto mine. Thomas, you have no idea how many nights I lay awake in an unfamiliar house, in a foreign country, wishing I were back in Connecticut, lying beside you. I miss you. I miss us. An old instinct flared within me, the same urge to fix things for Caroline, to make her whole. But I caught myself, pulling away from the gravitational pull of the past. No, 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 no. I lifted my hands as if in surrender. I can't fix this. And more importantly, I won't. Do you have any idea how selfish this is? You made your choice. You walked away. And the people I love, our children, were left to piece together the life you shattered. Their world was turned upside down, not because of anything they did, but because of you. My voice grew sharper. It's been 3 years, and the moment we cross paths, it's all about you again. Did you even think to ask about your kids? What kind of mother doesn't? I took a sharp breath, trying to steady my voice. You're a grandmother now, by the way. Andrew and Amelia had a daughter, Rachel Lynn. She'll be 2 soon. And Camilla? Your daughter? She's engaged. She's marrying a great guy named Kevin in 6 months. She still holds on to hope that you'll show up for the wedding. But how can she invite someone who doesn't exist? Maybe I should just send the invitation here. A heavy pause followed, filled with years of pent-up resentment. What did I do to deserve this? I asked, my voice raw. I gave you everything. I loved you without conditions. And you left. Not a word, not an explanation, just gone. You never even had the decency to apologize. And now you sit here lamenting your situation? You did this to yourself. You lost us. You lost me. I stood up abruptly, ready to walk away, echoing the exit she had made years ago. But before I could take a step, a familiar voice cut through the tension. Thomas, honestly, I can't leave you alone for 5 minutes without you sweet-talking some stunning woman. I should smack you silly. The playful warning came with a teasing smile and a twinkle of amusement in her emerald eyes. I hadn't noticed Victoria arrive. She made her way across the room, and just like that, relief washed over me. I grinned. Hey, love. Turning to Caroline, I made the introduction with an easy gesture. Victoria, this is Caroline, my ex-wife. Caroline, meet Victoria. Caroline sat motionless, still reeling from my words, and now forced to confront the woman who had taken her place. Her expression was unreadable, but the struggle to maintain her composure was obvious. Victoria, ever poised, extended a hand with a warm smile. Lovely to meet you, Caroline. Thomas has mentioned you before, though not always favorably, I'm afraid. Her tone was light, but the words struck like a blade. I suppose I should thank you, though. If you hadn't let go of this stubborn man, I wouldn't have had the chance to claim him. He's a handful, but I'm training him. She smirked, running her fingers along my shoulder in a casual, familiar touch. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding, feeling the weight of the past finally slip away. Where it belonged. Thomas, my untamed Yankee, if we don't leave now, we're going to miss the train to Ely. My words sliced through the moment, urgency woven into every syllable. I hate to cut this short, but time's not on our side. My hand found her knee, a small gesture of reassurance. Take it easy, love, I replied with an easy smile. I'm just finishing up. I turned to Caroline, still visibly grappling with everything, and said, We need to go, but I appreciate the coffee and your time. A beat passed before I added, with a smirk, I'll tell the kids you send your love, even if that's a bit of a stretch. Taking her hand in one final shake, I met her gaze. Caroline, I hope you find the happiness you're chasing, though I'm not convinced you're looking in the right place. A steady breath. And thank you. For 23 years. Most of them were good. I mean that. She remained motionless as I stepped away, her face an echo of my own from 3 years before, back when the roles were reversed. Victoria and I wove our way through the restless rhythm of London, moving toward the train that waited for us. She didn't ask how the reunion had gone. She didn't need to. She had heard enough to understand that this wasn't the kind of farewell that left anyone misty-eyed. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt unshackled, weightless, maybe even, finally, happy. This story has come to an end. One wrong decision, one moment of weakness, and an entire life crumbles, leaving only fragments behind. But the worst part isn't betrayal itself, it's the consequences. Lost years, broken families, and emptiness where love once was. It's important to remember, happiness cannot be built on deception, and running from the past doesn't always lead to a better future. Sometimes, the past catches up, not to offer a second chance, but to make you face the price of your choices. So before you burn bridges, ask yourself, can you truly live without them? What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you!